In this video, I want to talk about acquiring a taste for reflection. And I think it's an important topic with what's currently going on in the world, where many people, or not many, everybody's been asked to stay home. And for a lot of people, they've really gotten a lot of benefit and value out of this time of reflection. Yet there's also been people that have really struggled with that. And so I want to talk a little bit about what happens for people when they're reflective. And what I'd invite anyone listening to this to take a reflective stance, to practice reflection. Don't get hung up too much on anything that I'm saying, but to listen to it in a reflective way. So what happens for people when they're reflective is that things tend to slow down for them. People's minds start to slow down. The busyness tends to slow down. Their doing slows down. Their striving slows down. So when a person becomes reflective, it's kind of like all the apps on the computer shut down, and gives the system a time to relax and sometimes reboot. So what happens for people when they're reflecting is it's actually really good for the system. It lets people's nervous systems relax. It helps them rejuvenate. It helps them reboot. And the problem is that the average person thinks that their rejuvenation is a function of doing. And so they're going to yoga, they're going to work out, they're striving, they're running. And there's nothing wrong with any of those activities, but there's something very different and very unique when people start to get a taste for reflection and the nice feelings that come with that, and the clarity of mind that come with that, and the peace of mind that comes with that. It's a different type of rejuvenation. Okay. So I was working with a client this week, and he was really struggling with reflection, and he didn't really know why. And I shared with him that for the average person, we live in a culture that doesn't support much reflection. Though in our nature as human beings, our nature is to reflect. In fact, it's one of the most powerful apps on the system is the app called Reflection, Human Reflection. And it's through reflection that people change. It's through reflection that people learn and grow. True learning and true knowledge comes from reflecting and looking within. And when people are reflective, like I said, everything slows down, their mind slows down, they settle down, and their wisdom and common sense starts to come forward for them. That's why one of my favorite sayings is, with reflection comes wise action. Wise action. And it's because when people reflect, they often look at what matters to them. As things slow down, what matters to them starts to come forward in their lives. When people are reflective, what's important to them seems to come forward. When people are reflective, there's a simplicity that comes forward in their lives. And many people right now are experiencing that reboot of their system, given the fact that they're so reflective. Many people are seeing that they can probably do with a lot less. And they're finding out what's really important. What's coming forward is quality time with family and friends and connection. And so through this opportunity of reflection, some new thoughts and fresh thoughts and a simplicity to life starts to come forward for people. And when people's lives become more simple and they're focusing on what's of interest to them, what's important to them, they seem to be more aligned and in many ways living a life of purpose, but not as an intellectual pursuit, as a byproduct, a natural byproduct of reflection. Okay? So I want to talk now just real quick about why people struggle with reflection. Because a lot of people just don't know where to look when they reflect. When people reflect, often what comes up is the things people don't think very nicely of themselves. I call it their insecure thoughts start to surface up, or they see that they've got a lot of ideas, or you could even say what comes forward is how they've been doing life in their worldview, and it stops making sense to them. And so there's this restlessness or this sense of realization that that's not working out. I might need to change. And a lot of human beings don't have a very good relationship with change. And so they become fearful. Okay. One of the other things that challenge people often when they become reflective is that they start to see how much thinking they have about things. And what happens is they have thinking about themselves, they have thinking about their parents, their partners, their business, their money. They become very reflective, and they start to see they have a lot of thinking about things. And they think about, oh, I gotta quit my job, or I gotta start a new business, or I might lose my house. So they start seeing that they have a lot of thinking. And what they don't see is that they're taking their thinking very serious, and it scares them. Okay. So one of the first things when people start acquiring a taste for reflection, a lot of times their thoughts start to show up for them, and they become very fearful of their thoughts, and they figure it's just best not to be reflective. Okay. But when people start to acquire a taste for reflection, they actually start to get a little distance from their thinking, and they become less fearful of their thoughts and less fearful of the feelings that come with those thoughts. And they're able to just witness them more. And they realize they're just their thoughts, and they're not them. One of the greatest misunderstandings people have is they think their thinking is them. You know, they think, oh, I'm not such a good father, or I'm not such a good at business, or I'm whatever it is. They have some sort of thought, and they innocently believe that thought, and then they create a strategy or a reaction to overcome that thought. Okay. Now, when people start to learn about the nature of thought, they start to let those pass by, and they start to experience a greater sense of freedom and peace. Again, what happens when people are reflective? Sometimes there's a shitstorm in the beginning, but then it all settles down. That's the nature of reflection. Reflection, people settle down. Their minds settle down. They come home to their own common sense. They come home to their own well-being, and they come home to a simplicity of what matters to them and what interests them and what's truly important to them. So I want to just leave everybody with the fact that reflection is an acquired taste. It's something that I encourage people to have more respect for and to try on. Acquired taste meaning that you might not like it so much in the beginning. But the more you acquire a taste for it, you'll come to enjoy it, because one of the things when people acquire a taste for reflection, they start going deeper and deeper beyond their insecure thoughts, beyond their beliefs, beyond their opinions, beyond their worldviews. And they come to a deeper place within themselves. You could say they come home to a deeper truth of who they are. And that's really helpful for them. And they realize it's nothing to be afraid of. Okay. And so, in essence, what happens when people begin self-reflection, they start to do that. At first, they're confronted with what I call personal reflection. And what that means is, how am I doing in life? How's my life going? But the more people acquire a taste, they go deeper. And they stop looking at reflection as a personal reflection. And they start seeing that the real power is reflecting not on their personal lives, but reflecting on the nature of all of life. And that's where things get really fun, and that's where things get really interesting. And that's all I have to say for right now. I hope you've enjoyed this message. And again, it's encouraging people to acquire a taste for reflection, and understanding that reflection is the fertile ground for insight and understanding. And insight and understanding is the mother of all change and transformation. Thanks for listening.